who joins us from the Jordanian capital, Amman, because the Israeli government has banned Al Jazeera from operating not just inside of Israel, but also the occupied territories. Now, Hamdah, that was the view that we just heard of from Beirut in Lebanon, where those strikes have been carried out. What are Israeli officials saying about this?
Well, the Israeli military released a statement saying that they were targeting these underground Hezbollah areas where they say Hezbollah members and fighters were manufacturing drones. Of course, the Israeli military not providing any proof or evidence to back up those claims, but saying that they are going to be carrying out any sort of airstrikes or attacks they feel necessary in order to implement the ceasefire agreement to keep it in place. It's worth mentioning that the ceasefire agreement was very fragile from the very beginning stages when it was put in place late last year. The Israeli government and military alike saying that they hold not only Hezbollah responsible, but also the Lebanese government and the Lebanese armed forces, saying that the Israelis are going to continue carrying out these types of attacks whenever they feel that Hezbollah is still operating, not just in Beirut, but also in southern Lebanon, where the Israeli military did just issue forced evacuation orders for.
Right, and as all of that's been unfolding in Beirut, just before those airstrikes, we heard from the Hamas political leader saying that it's ready to engage in new round of talks.
That's right. Hamas officials have been saying from the very beginning that they're not the ones who are against a deal, pointing the finger at the Israeli Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, saying that he's the main obstacle for why there still hasn't been a deal, that Hamas is more than willing and capable to work with any sort of agreement on the table, and that they gave to mediators what they envisioned would be an end to the war in the form of an agreement. But the Israelis had said no, because they are not interested in ending the war. The Israeli Prime Minister, you'll recall, just a couple of weeks ago added new terms and conditions for what it would take for the Israelis to end the war, saying that it not only needs to include the disarming of Hamas, it not only needs to include the return of the captives, but also President Donald Trump's plan, the implementation of forcibly removing all Palestinians from the Gaza Strip, is one of his conditions for ending the war. But this has been a plan that was largely condemned, largely dismissed, and said that it was ethnic cleansing.
OK, so much has been going on in the last few hours, Hamdah, because there's also another story that we're following where Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says that his government is coordinating with armed Palestinian gangs in Gaza, and it seems, according to the Israelis, to help fight Hamas. What more do we know about what the Israelis are saying, or even about these Palestinian gangs?
Well, the Israeli opposition is accusing the Israeli Prime Minister of arming what they're calling a criminal enterprise in the Gaza Strip. This is the Abu Shabab group. They are an armed gang in the Gaza Strip. Little is known about them, of course, but the Israeli Prime Minister did admit to this. He said, quote, what's wrong with that? That they were using this group to try and defeat Hamas, try and put any sort of pressure on Hamas that they could find. But this is getting a lot of heat in Israel. It's getting a lot of backlash because one of Netanyahu's main political rivals within the Israeli opposition on the right-wing side said that Netanyahu is dealing now with criminals in the Gaza Strip, giving them arms, giving them weapons that are eventually going to be used against Israel. Netanyahu says that this is a group that Israel can work with to try and help facilitate aid distribution, try and secure those areas. But there has been a lot said about the negative aspects of this, but not just from the Israelis, but also word from sources on the ground within the Gaza Strip saying that these are people who are not what Israel says they are, and in fact could be dangerous altogether. But nonetheless, what the Israelis are so concerned with is the Israeli military and the Israeli government arming this gang with weapons inside of the Gaza Strip while the war is still ongoing and escalating.
OK, thank you very much for summing all of these latest events when it comes to Israel. Hamdah Salhut live for us there in Amman in Jordan.